On the morning of the 10th of November 1975, the Edmund Fitzgerald sank beneath the icy waters of Lake Superior. 29 men descended with her. When recovery teams finally reached the wreckage, they found something deeply wrong. The cargo hold doors stood open, the lifeboats remained locked in their cradles, and the crew, every single one of them, had vanished without a trace. No bodies, no life. Rings. Not even a single boot floating in the kill your horse's water. 60 years of maritime history, and the Great Lakes had swallowed its greatest secret whole. The Edmund Fitzgerald was born in 1958 at the Great Lakes Engineering Works in River Rouge, Michigan. At 729 feet, she was the longest carrier ever to navigate the Great Lakes, a true iron giant. Captain Ernest McSorley commanded her that final voyage, a 32-year veteran who knew Superior's moods like a wife. On November 9th, the Fitzgerald departed from Superior, Wisconsin, hauling 26,116 tons of iron ore pellets toward Detroit. Behind her, the Arthur M. Anderson trailed close, connected by radio. Neither ship knew they were sailing toward a date that would break Superior's surface tension and drink them both. By 2:15 p.m. on November 10th, the storm had grown teeth. Waves reached 35 feet. Wind gusts topped 80 knots. Captain McSorley reported to the Anderson, "I have a bad deck, forward, taking water." His voice carried the exhausted calm of a man who had weathered dozens of gales. But something was different this time. The radar showed an eerie void where the Fitzgerald's signal should have been, then two blips, merging into one. At 5:20 p.m., McSorley's final radio call crackled across the Pindow. "We are holding our own. Currently in trouble. I think the rudder is amuck." Those words hung in static for seconds. Then silence. The Anderson watched two tower-shaped masses lift and disappear into the darkness. Divers reached the Fitzgerald wreck in 1989, sitting in 530 feet of black water. The bow section had crumpled like an accordion. The stern lay 60 feet away, pointing toward shore, toward safety, rotated as if the ship had tried to turn before death claimed her. The cargo hold doors hung open, barnacles creeping across their hinges. The spare life rafts remained coiled in their brackets. Every door on the vessel had been found in the closed position except one. The access door to the aft cabin, where the crew would have gathered in an emergency. It was found open. The ship had been sealed. The crew had not used the lifeboats, but neither had they escaped. Where 29 men had stood, only iron remained. The U.S. Coast Guard Marine Board of Investigation spent months cataloging evidence. The Fitz's radar transponder had been deliberately switched off before the final transmission, a detail dismissed as routine maintenance. The hatch gaskets had deteriorated, allowing green seas to flood the cargo holds. When water accumulated, the ship would have buckled. The Coast Guard concluded that the Fitzgerald broke in two, flooding instantly, leaving no time for evacuation. Captain McSorley's statement, "I think the rudder is amuck," supported this theory. Yet the report acknowledged a troubling gap. The ship had not sent distress flares. No SOS. No emergency beacons. 29 experienced sailors, and not one had time to send a single mayday before the lake closed over their heads. Years after the official inquiry, maritime investigators uncovered details the Coast Guard had overlooked. Witnesses along the Canadian shore reported a second flash of light near the Fitzgerald's position, distinct from the lightning strikes. Some survivors from nearby vessels claimed to see the Fitz standing tall, fully intact, for several seconds before she simply ceased to exist. The captain's leather logbook was recovered from a private collection in 2014. Its final entries showed McSorley writing with unusual brevity. Storm. Hold 1 flooding. Hold 7 flooding. No mention of the crew. No mention of abandoning ship. The last notation ended mid-sentence, as if time itself had been interrupted. Most maritime engineers support the structural failure model. The Fitzgerald's double-hull design, though revolutionary in 1958, could not withstand the combination of heavy seas and shifting ore cargo. When the cargo shifted, the ship hogged, bending in the middle like a knee buckling. The midsection collapsed first. The two halves separated and sank within seconds. In water at 37 degrees Fahrenheit, survival time for an unprotected human measured in minutes, not hours. The current would have carried bodies toward the lake's depths. Fish, scavengers, and decomposition would have erased all trace within weeks. It is a logical explanation. It is almost satisfying. But logic and satisfaction rarely travel together when the dead refuse to stay buried. Consider the lifeboats. 2 motor launchers sat in davits on the Fitzgerald's deck. Neither was deployed. The Coast Guard report stated there was no time. Yet the Anderson remained afloat until 11:30 p.m., nearly 6 hours after the Fitzgerald vanished. If the Fitz had broken apart slowly enough for the Anderson to witness the event, why had McSorley's crew not launched the boats while the ship was still above water? Another detail. The Fitzgerald carried 29 men. The ship's manifest listed each name, each hometown. Families received death certificates. Yet not one body washed ashore. Across Superior's 31,700 square miles, not a single crew member was found. Compare this to the 1,975 sinking of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald's sister ship, the SS Anderson, which lost 4 men in a separate incident. Bodies were recovered within days. The Fitzgerald's silence defies statistical probability. Lake Superior contains shipwreck archaeology's most famous haunting. For decades, sailors on Superior have spoken of the Duppy's spirits trapped in the deep, unable to reach shore because Superior never gives up her dead. Marine geologist Joseph McInnes, who led 3 Fitz expeditions, noted that the wreck site pulses with strange electromagnetic readings. Sonar returns sometimes show shifting shadows near the hull, shadows that move against the current. Locals in Whitefish Point still leave lanterns lit on November 10th. They claim the ship still runs, somewhere beneath the surface, crew intact, searching for a harbour that does not exist. Whether we call it supernatural or simply the lake's brutal thermodynamics, one fact remains. The Fitzgerald sank in a place where the water temperature can kill a man faster than drowning. The crew may not have had time to become ghosts. The lake may have simply frozen them into silence. Gordon Lightfoot's 1976 ballad The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald transformed the disaster into myth. The lake, it is said, never gives up her dead when the gales of November come slashing. Those lyrics contain a medical inaccuracy. Bodies do surface eventually in Superior, but the line captures something the Coast Guard report never could. The emotional truth that some losses exceed explanation. Every November 10th, divers place a wreath at the wreck site. The names of the 29 are read aloud. No one answers. The Fitzgerald rests at 530 feet, a steel cathedral holding its congregation in permanent darkness. The Great Lakes have claimed 6,000 ships and 30,000 lives. The Fitz is not the deepest wreck. It is not the oldest. But it remains the one that asks the question we cannot stop asking. Where did they go? Here is what we know. The Edmund Fitzgerald sank in a storm on the 10th of November 1975. 29 men entered the water. None were recovered. The ship broke apart. The cargo holds flooded. These facts are documented. What remains unknown is whether the crew died in the seconds of the breakup, or whether some of them, perhaps the captain, perhaps the engineers, remained conscious in the cold, watching. The lights fail one by one while Superior sealed them in darkness. We may never have answers, but we can keep asking the question. Next week on Phantom Atlas, another vanished crew, another dark water, another story the lake refuses to tell. Subscribe and dive with us again.